So, in terms of the world's high potential but underachieving telecom markets, number one, I would go with India. It's a huge burgeoning economy. It's one of the world's brick markets, which is typically very attractive. It has over 1 billion people. It has over 1 billion mobile telephone subscriptions. However, it continues to deceive in terms of its telecom potential. For example, in 2013, out of almost 1 billion mobile telephone subscriptions, only around 3% will have mobile internet. So what are the obstacles? Why is it not achieving that kind of telecom glory that many expect it to? Well, one is widespread government corruption, which has reached out into the provision of mobile internet across the country, meaning 3G licenses have been revoked because they simply weren't meeting specific standards. Another is growing poverty, especially in rural areas, and other obstacles that include poor infrastructure and low IT literacy. So huge market, huge potential. Economically, it's superb. I mean, the country has registered around 7% annual real GDP growth over the last 6 years. So it's a huge market, but doesn't quite deliver in terms of telecoms. The second one is its neighbor, Pakistan. Less heralded as an economic power. However, the market is huge again in terms of population, around 200 million people. The country is very big. And in terms of pure potential, it's huge. However, obstacles are very, very big, much bigger than in India, partly because they're cultural, they're religious, they're not so much to do with poverty and infrastructure, although those are problems, but it's mainly to do with a cultural lack of acceptance of technologies. For example, in 2013, the reports of Islamic radicals bombing internet cafes across the country because they believe they are symbols of Western invasion of the country. Those are just some of the aspects. And what that basically translates into is very low possession of digital goods. For example, possession of a broadband-enabled PC was one of the lowest rates in the world in 2012, at around 3%. Whereas mobile telephone possession is the same, very low, around 40%. When you think about that, it's incredible because this is a country, a relatively modern country in some parts of it. Less than half the population have a mobile telephone, so severely limited in that sense. The third market is Iran. Again, very interesting, very young. Average age of the population is around 28 years old. A growing economy. However, it has a tiny smartphone market. Its smartphone market by retail value in 2013 is expected to be worth only around $170 million, which is tiny because it's a country with a huge population, very young, in some ways very progressive as well. However, in a way, these are problems that it cannot control because economic sanctions, political obstacles, which mean that the country cannot actually import the digital goods that it needs, many of which come from China. Pressure from Western economies on its economic base. These are all factors that limit the potential of the country's relatively young market. And those are the three economies that in the future we hope to see great potential from, but at the moment they're just a little bit lagging behind other markets.